All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever and whenever you are. Thank you for tuning in to our first ever podcast. This is HighwAsian Persuasion coming to you from a studio in Little Tokyo. Big shout out to Visual Communications for letting us use their studio here. My name is Parimal. Pleasure to have you tune into us. We are going to be introducing this show. I have a nice crew here to talk with you today about a few fun topics. We'll be short and brief since this is our introductory piece. But thank you for tuning in. It's a pleasure to be talking to you today. This is the first of a series of podcasts we'll have throughout the winter and the spring called HighwAsian Persuasion, which is an extension of Asian Highway 1. My co-host and I will be hoping to embark on a journey where we'll be telling human stories, and we'll be telling these stories through an Asian American lens. It is our hope that you'll find a sense of commonality in these stories, no matter your root, creed, or upbringing. This is a podcast where dialogue of everyday life will lead to everyday action. And like I said, this is Asian Highway 1, which is the longest highway in the world. It starts in Istanbul and heads east to Tokyo. Covers 14 countries along the way. And with that note, I'd like to introduce one of my co-hosts who will tell you a little bit more about that highway and why it matters to the show. Ms. Medha, how are you today?
Very, very good.
So let's chat a little bit about the Asian Highway 1.
Well, I think I'm very excited about the journey we're about to embark on because we're covering the continent of Asia, a number of communities that are part of the Asian American community, our definition being 50 plus countries. But what's most exciting, I think, is the inter-community dialogue that we intend to foster. And the dialogue we also intend to foster with the community at large. And so, in my opinion, I think that fostering action through storytelling by inspiring each other community-wise will be something that'll be a big part of our podcast. And actually, Debesh, you were talking about the power of storytelling, right?
That's right, Medha. So storytelling has been a tradition that's been around since we as a species have been around. Prior to the 1200s and 1400s, when books started being pressed, the way that stories and things were passed along were an oral tradition. It was through storytelling. There's something really intrinsically strong about being able to bring people together by sitting down at a table much like this and telling a story, whether it's with 4 people or with 4,000 people. The importance of storytelling is such that it can have the power to bring people together. And once those stories are shared, they really become a part of the shared experience, this sort of collective experience. And what we're really excited about here with the HighwAsian Persuasion show is to be able to give these stories, to have a platform for these stories so that they become a part of our collective wherever you are in the world. And it's going to be something really exciting to see, and we're very excited to have you on this journey.
And this journey is going to be happening, like you said, around a table. It's vital for all of us to, if we have our stories, to have a place to tell it. It's not enough to have a story. So the goal with this podcast and with all of our projects accordingly through this is to give people a seat at the table. And that way, when you're here and we're talking, all of us are talking, you have a voice, we have a voice, everyone has a voice. And that also means there are active listeners here as well. And that's the whole point. Let's chit chat. Let's all have a seat. Let's listen. Let's talk. So when you're tuning in to our podcast, which will be debuting in a few weeks, what would you expect to hear? Well, we're going to have a handful of guests come in over the course of 10 weeks. We'll have policymakers, local politicians. We'll have artists, musicians, actors, a whole myriad of people who are thought leaders, influencers who will come in. We'll interview them. We'll talk about their stories, chit chat with their experiences, and kind of find a common bond between their experience and the rest of society at large. That's kind of going to be the goal of each of our shows on a week-to-week basis. So Medha and Debesh, if there's anything you want to add to that, what else would you like to share about what we're going to experience?
I think a lot of out-of-the-box thinkers from the Asian American community, and a lot of them who are very passionate about what they do, how they can change, how they can make change within the community, and what inspires them, whether it's music or art or anything else.
Right. How about you, Devesh?
Absolutely. The other component of having the various guests from various industries and walks of life is, as we talked about storytelling, the importance is that they are able to bring in a different perspective that otherwise the three of us may not be able to bring in. So the idea of bringing in fresh perspectives on issues that matter and issues that are at large will be so much fun and so important to have on this platform. And
you'll be able to find out who we'll have on our social media. So definitely check out our Facebook page, which is Asian Highway 1, or follow us on Twitter at AH1Live. And also be sure to subscribe to us wherever you're listening, be it iTunes or any other platform where our podcast is airing. So we'd love to have you follow us and subscribe. And so thank you for listening. Like we said, we look forward to having you on board and fostering this dialogue. This is about everyday American life through the eyes of Asian Americans and how we could use that to inspire everyday action. So on behalf of the crew here, thank you to our producer, Marvin, for helping us out today. I did want to give one in memoriam. A couple weeks ago, we lost a trailblazer for the Asian American community, March Fong Yu, who was the first Asian American woman to be elected to the California legislature, the first woman Secretary of State of California, and later an ambassador to Micronesia for the U.S. She had passed away a couple weeks ago, so all the best to her family, condolences to her family, and she was a true trailblazer and really opened the door for all of us, and we hope to inspire more trailblazers after her. So with that, on behalf of Devesh, Mehta, and Marvin, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.